What's up? How you doing? Here we are, beautiful night tonight. A little bit cool, a little bit, but not bad. It's comfortable. So yesterday I was watching Bonanza, the television series that ran from 59 to 74. And I'm a big fan of that show. I love the Cartwrights. I also love the Big Valley. Used to watch that with Barbara Stanwyck. Big fan of Barbara Stanwyck. But noticed that, when I was a kid, I'd get home from school and the reruns of Bonanza were on television, so I'd sit and watch an episode. And I thought the plots was so, complex and intricate and, a lot of stuff going on. And now when I watch it, I think the opposite. I think how thin the plots were. Very thin. I saw one last night where there was a guy with his two sons living on the Ponderosa illegally, and he was stealing cattle from the Cartwrights, and so Ben Cartwright approached him and they got into a fist fight. And the ridiculousness of the fist fight was that they used a stuntman for most of the fighting scene, for most of the fighting action. And Lauren Green was fighting with the close-ups, and then when they did the faraway shots, they had the stuntman, which looks totally different than Ben Cartwright's body. Obviously this guy was thinner, in better shape, and anytime there was some kind of combination of punches being thrown, they had the stuntman come in. But all of Bonanza had the ridiculous stuntmen doing the fighting. And it was so obvious. It wasn't even is it him or isn't it? It was obvious. And the $6 Million Man did the same thing. I remember when Colonel Steve Austin was, doing a far jump or fighting with somebody, they had this stuntman guy come in. So that's the one thing that improved over time. The writing. The plots now on shows are much, much better. I watch Fargo, one of my favorite shows. I love Fargo. And no way back in the old days could they make a show like that. Not only that, the acting is much better now, more realistic. So got a little wine here I'm gonna try. Now if you can see that, Bonanza. Now it's got nothing to do with the show, but I was out today, had to run some errands, and I saw this and it reminded me of the show, so I said I'm going to try a little bit. Got my can opener here. Well, they always have this little sharp piece that cuts the aluminum or whatever, the foil. Like the old-fashioned way here. You go to a restaurant in Europe and you're on the sidewalk with the table, and they always get the guy come over with one of these, and he's quick. He's really speedy. Take my time. See me break the bottle. Smells pretty good. Anyway, Bonanza, California. And it even has a story back here, which I'm not going to read, but if you're interested, pick up a bottle. Chuck Wagner wrote it. Bottled by Bonanza Winery. What does it say? Fairfield, California, USA. And it's got a picture of them in a truck. Kind of reminds me of the truck from Sanford and Son, except this is a different color and different year. So we're going to try a little bit. Nice color. A little bit. So remember, don't drink and drive, drink in moderation. You don't want to end up around a telephone pole or a tree. So never ever drink and drive. Always drink when it's safe. Like you're home or you're staying at a hotel or something like that overnight. Or take an Uber, taxi. And alcohol, it's best in moderation. You drink too much, you wake up the next day, you have radiation sickness. Well, that's what it feels like. Anyway, cheers. Great, great smell. Yeah, this is, yeah, it's a good wine. I recommend it. It's a decent wine, good flavor, smooth. Goes good with a nice piece of steak, or maybe the whole thing. We are having dinner in about, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes. So I may have a little bit with my meal, but again in moderation. You know, I want to be able to find my room where I go to bed at night, be searching the house. So we're having prime rib tonight with potatoes, salad. I bought some bread, some tasty bread, and some beets. So anyway, yeah. So that's it. I actually saw 2 episodes of Bonanza last night. Bonanza. My mother, she wouldn't call it Bonanza the show, or the Cartwrights the family name. She thought the name of the family was Bonanza. And specifically, she thought Ben Cartwright was Bonanzas with an S at the end. But so I saw 2 episodes. One I mentioned earlier a few moments ago, but the other one was there's Native Americans on horseback chasing an army officer, and they're trying to take him out. They're trying to kill him, and the Cartwrights are there to protect him. So it's a standoff between the Cartwrights and the Native Americans. Well, it turns out that the officer did something wrong, and Ben Cartwright, had to go and get help. And anyway, they shot Adam. So it's an old episode because Adam was in it. Trapper John MD, who wasn't really Trapper John from MASH. MASH, that was another actor who played Trapper John. And then they got, what's his name? Pernell Roberts, is that his name? To play Trapper John. But Trapper John was another guy on MASH because it's a spin-off. So anyway, Ben went to get help and everything worked out. And it had a moral lesson to it, just like all of them. Felt like I was watching, the Super Friends. At the end, they would have Superman come out and he would give you a little moral lesson on something, or Shazam. Shazam always had a little bit of a moral lesson. Did you learn your lesson on this episode? But yeah, it's weird when you see, well, obviously you're young, and you see things and they look more impressive. But I remember watching Bonanza, and I thought it was a super show with very, very, very sophisticated plots. We had nothing to compare it to. But now if you compare it to, like Yellowstone, that's got good, deep plots, good plot lines, good acting, very realistic. Now, Bonanza is nothing but a wimp next to that. So you notice the difference in the writing. It's, whatever, but I still enjoy watching it. When I was a kid, I remember it would come on sometimes on like a Sunday, Sunday at around 3 or 4. And I'd be in my room. I had a chair, comfortable chair, would do a 360 on it. And I'd have the window opened in the wintertime about that much, get a little cool air coming in. And I'd watch Bonanza or Big Valley. Yeah, it's a very nice wine. take my hat off to these people that made this wine. Very good. So yeah, it's a little story back here. Goes way back to 1972, and I guess this Chuck Wagner talks about his father, that he made homemade wine, and he had it with his daily lunch before returning from the field. But it was in moderation. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to drive the tractor later on, you know, be smashing into fig trees. So he talks about that, and it even says here he drank always in moderation. Yeah. So pick it up. Delicious. And I bought a tea infuser because I use a lot of times I use loose leaf tea, and I don't want to be using the the big screen there that I have. So you put it in here. Get that. Put it in here, and you dip it in, and then you know. Oh, you don't even unscrew it. Look at this. It opens up. Yeah. I have other ones as well, but this one just looked impressive to me, so I bought it. Does the same thing, but it's like getting a shot. Couple of them in here. Later on, I will be making some tea. I have loose tea, loose leaf. And I may continue this video later on. I may not, you never know. Yeah, I mean, I've had wine in restaurants that was much more expensive than this. And, you know, it wasn't any better. This stuff is really good. And I'll tell you this, you can get this for under 20 bucks. It's not that bad. Not that bad. The Gold Rush. I don't know what this guy is. A picture of a guy here. And I don't know if he hit the Gold Rush. It's like a gold nugget maybe. And I'm kind of like a person that if I have wine, which is not that often, but if I have wine, I want it to be on the cool side. I don't want it to be room temperature, you know. I'm not into room temperature wine. And if it's going to be beer, and I don't have beer that often either, but if it's going to be beer, it has to be freezing cold. Has to be like 32.1 degrees, 32.1. I want to have it nice and cold, and I want to have it where I have maybe a bucket of ice, and I put my mug or my glass in that ice so it doesn't warm up by the time I get to the bottom. Yeah, I'm gonna write these people a letter. I'm gonna tell them, you guys, you're making some good wine. Starry night, see a few stars out here. I'm always blown away about, you know, the universe, so I don't want to get started, but very fascinated with the existence of reality. Could have just as easily been nothing here, including empty space, no empty space, you know, could have been empty nothingness without the empty space, which is hard to imagine. I always think about it. I always say, you know, I can imagine emptiness, but I can't imagine nothing, including emptiness, not existing. You know, I mean, I can imagine a void where there is just empty space with nothing in it. But it's hard to imagine no empty space of any kind, including nothingness, not existing. It's strange. And basically, the universe is empty. Because if you think about it, the space in between objects is mind-boggling. I mean, we have Alpha Centauri, which is it's the closest star to us. It's actually two stars, A and B, and that's like 4.2, 4.3 light years from here, which is very far, and that's next door. But if you think about it, it would be like a 75, 80,000 years of traveling 24/7 at around 38,000 miles an hour. It would take 75,000 years to get to it. That's how far the next closest star is. It's just mind-boggling. But if you start thinking about the universe and all the stuff that goes along with it, the existence of reality, it just makes you go around in a loop in your brain. But with this new telescope up now, that the Webb, we are learning so much more. It's even calling in question, in my opinion, the Big Bang Theory. You know, I mean, if you don't know how big the universe is to begin with, and you know, it could be infinite, but we know now that it's probably a lot bigger than the observable universe. So if it's bigger than that, you don't know. You don't know if there was a Big Bang. You know, because you can't measure the edge to here and say that, you know, 13, 14 billion years ago, the universe was condensed into the size of a bowling ball, because you don't know how big it actually is. And now that they found galaxies at the edge of the observable universe that are fully developed, which means that those galaxies are a lot older than, well, what we expected them to be, since they're on the edges of the observable. They shouldn't be that developed, you know, because we're looking back in time. When you look at the edge, or the observable edge, you're looking back in time about 14 billion years. And so those galaxies should look primitive, and they don't. They look fully developed, which means that the universe is a lot older than we thought even a year ago. Maybe I'll go visit Neil deGrasse Tyson. I like him, interesting, you know, he's got you know, his way of explaining, you know, I like him. I watch him a lot. Be a cool conversation, you know, you have a conversation, but they don't explain anything. They don't know anything to explain. You know, if you ask them, what is the universe being held inside of, or what is the universe expanding into, they give you these ridiculous answers that mean nothing. It's just gibberish. So the more respectable thing for them to do is say, I don't know, instead of trying to give this weird, I mean, I watch these videos that try and explain what's beyond the observable, or what is the universe expanding into, and it's basically nonsense that they tell you, because they don't know. They don't know. So just say you don't know. Anyway, delicious, and that's it. Now I'm going to go inside, and I got the food in the oven. Gonna pull it out of the oven, use some gloves maybe. I don't want to burn my hands. I have burned my hands before, and it'll happen again. But take the food out and then cut it, serve it, and hopefully we watch something good on television tonight. You know what else I can't stand besides Star Wars? Anything to do with zombies. Just, I can't stand those shows. Zombies. You know, like, what is it, Night of the Living Dead, or just, I find them so boring. But I am not a fan of fantasy type television or movies. I love comedy. I love drama. You know, I hate Star Wars. I cannot stand Star Wars or any derivative of Star Wars. You know, I mean, you know, people say to me, "Oh, you don't like Star Wars?" I go, "No, because it sucks." And they say, "What about Star Trek?" That one I can live with that. I mean, I'm not, you know, crazy about it either. I'm not running to see it, and I'm not a Trekkie or whatever. But if somebody gave me an option and they said, "We're going to give you a high definition television set, and we're going to give you a DVD player, and we're going to give you an option, you can take the entire movie collection of Star Wars and its derivatives, or the other option is Star Trek and the original Star Trek, because all the other ones were nonsense." If it came down to that, where I had a choice between one or the other, I would take Star Trek. And I love the theme song to Star Trek, and it's just, you know, everything about it, you know, was much better. But I can, you know, leave those and never see them, and I'd be fine. But I love comedy. I love drama. Love the Brady Bunch. Lost, when Lost was on, loved it. 24. Kiefer, what kind of name is Kiefer. Loved that show. 24. Although you can never do that many things in 24 hours. He was doing a lot of stuff. I mean, just driving around would kill half that time. I was a big fan of that, though. I loved watching it. I love Fargo, Yellowstone. They need to make a Canadian one called Yellowknife. Family Ties, when it was on, loved that show. You know what I liked about Family Ties? The laughter. If you watch Family Ties, especially towards the end of the series, you will hear somebody laughing that laughs louder than everyone else in the audience, and that made me laugh. And I think it was somebody near the camera, because that laugh is loud. So anyway, you know, I said it a million times, I don't like lamb. Can't stand lamb. Just disgusting. I'm not a fan of lamb. And Star Wars. I'd rather watch Ishtar all day, repeatedly, than to watch Star Wars once every 10 years. It was horrible. Anyway, that's it for now. Ciao.